I think there was more new, but for some reason it's not showing up. Zachary's arrival interrupted Ashton's conversation with G. Left alone, the two attempted to mend things between them, only for things to almost turn sour after Ashton revealed his plans to return to the mansion. His friend eventually acquiesced after Ashton agreed to a time limit. When Ashton showed up at the pub's main lounge again, he caught Rebecca and Isabella in the middle of an argument. The latter insisted on going back to the mansion, while the former strongly opposed. However, before Ashton could step in, harsh words had already been said. After scolding Rebecca for her harsh tone, a concerned Ashton followed after Isabella. He found her alone in a corner lounge, upset. Despite agreeing with her, he insisted she would only put herself at risk by coming back. Although she acquiesced, dismay was clear in her face. Ashton left for the mansion at nightfall, but when he got to his car, he found Rebecca waiting for him. Fearing she might not have the chance, Rebecca confessed her feelings, but before he could answer, Rebecca stopped him, admitted she had been selfish, and she was letting him go. She only wanted him to know. Well, I'm glad that turned out a lot better than I expected. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxbourne and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble, seconds later, echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. November 1st, Tuesday. Still Ashton's chapter. Oh my god. I'm want to see how it's going to end already. This is a very, very, very wordy visual novel. I don't think I'm going to do visual novels again. At least not for a long time. The rainfall in fast, steady sheets. The rain falls in fast, steady sheets. Creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in this city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour has turned torrential. The long slog from Anselm Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. By the time I found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser, and gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag Wright has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed at every possible point of entry, the main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property, although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Considering how off this place feels since I've stepped on the property and the mansion came into view. Every light is off, even with the security personnel on patrol outside. The whole house itself, it feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally, I'll pass it off as some kind of a power outage because of the storm. It's not a far-off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or is about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so, moving without thinking will not only endanger me. With so many unknown variables in what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impetuously. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in a prison, not a morgue. There it is. There she goes. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Or worse, Hana Wright. It's coming from the forest? Sounds like it's in a room, actually, not from a forest. Just right up ahead, in fact. Not too far from the house, regardless. I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully, keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. Oh, there she is. Until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate, anguished cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on the gun holstered at my hip, and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Understory? Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and nothing. Abruptly, it all stops, and I am met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness, even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears. Behind me, another branch breaks, and...
Help. Help me.
Yeah. Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways, tilting till the ground underneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, and he falls into the dungeon, only to meet air. By then, it's too late. My foot slips further, and the rest of my body follows. Ooh. There's whispering. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of her laughter. But more than that are the voices, lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I failed to do and who I failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from one. There's only fear. Once again, her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open, the soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments, I remain still, blinking away the dizziness. Just how extensive is this sex dungeon? Allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
There doesn't seem to be any injury or major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skidded down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. A second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful. And by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel, and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the topside. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place, a mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul, like rotting flesh. Like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside on some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Bodies. There are bodies there. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising. Lots of nobles and wealthy people like to have their sex dungeons, apparently.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. Don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out of the first opportunity, and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me reel as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself, and the tale behind that effing letter. But fear's inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this is, this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Turns out, that alone is too much to ask for this early. No 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises above my footfalls, rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel, before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless, straining my ears for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. See, this is interesting. Not all the relationship building, exposition, and all that. No, this is interesting. This is action. Not seeing what each character thinks of the other characters. My goodness. So much time was just spent on that. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute, I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Marianne? Perhaps it's because of what has happened earlier and how I've ended up here, or maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once again. Afraid. Frantic. Weak?
I'm asking you a question. Who's there?
It's only after I've released the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Show yourself!
I can't. I'm stuck in here.
Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. And as if to prove her point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out. Can you help?
There's nothing but a skull in there. This was a trick. In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman is inside. Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. Not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
Same one I met at G's 5 days ago, smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCulloch. Marianne McCulloch. Famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now, with how exhausted and feeble she looks, trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing's shallow and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just fell in and that woman, whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
Question, what have you been drinking? Although you're dehydrated, after 3 days you tend to die. Question 2, where have you been peeing and pooing? Oh gods, she hasn't had access to toilet paper, unless she's been using straw. That seems messy. Or her scarf. Another possibility.
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
Feed yourself, what? Oh, energy bar. Yeah, because that's what she needs. She needs an energy bar, not water. Personally, I would want water and food. I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts, a little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she has said is true. But for the moment, it's enough to keep her alive, although she needs water. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort. If the puddle on the corner of the cell indicates anything, has she been drinking her own urine? Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food and it'll give it an average of 3 weeks, though even then, it won't be a pretty experience. Granted, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here, not like I need it. Unlike the ones we have at the precinct, a simple barrel hinge holds the gates to the cell together. I hope he isn't gonna shoot anything. Even without any special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. Why couldn't she do that? However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe, anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in. Good idea. We can't have another person trapped in here. However, McCulloch ended up inside.
Well, there's no.
My head snaps back to her. McCulloch extracts a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Why didn't she free herself? Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection, and that's what she said.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door, and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort, no kidding about the heavy parts. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls on the ground with a loud, ugly, metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on McCulloch's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she has accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there. If you didn't show up, today, I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something, someone.
A contemplative expression flickers in her eyes, something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her. I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen, then.
There's a door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry. and I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans!
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here! People died in this place! Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me. But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
Mikala, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God! Oh God! Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
Mikalo!
Abruptly, she stops, looks back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days, from my own friends even, to know she has seen things, the kind that'll easily make any person go mad. And perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. I can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet? An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not. He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. She is into Hana. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me, only tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own, and then she can go to the kitchen and get some water. I would totally do that. I'd be like, let's go to the kitchen, get me some water. She can always leave afterwards, be done with this whole damn mansion and let her. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. Really? I thought he fell into it. And she can get some food from the kitchen. I would be like, yes, let's go get some water and food. Deal with this. It'll provide ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steals her slip out of the property and like what? Walk back? All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly, despite the fact she can nod her whole body. Then without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. Occasionally, she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk, she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. He doesn't want to help her either. Eventually, we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something on the wall, tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
I hope he has a flashlight. He mentioned gun, taser, letter, but he didn't mention a flashlight. Although, until just recently, we didn't know he had an energy bar either. She merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the walls, liquor barrels for aging. The wine cellar, indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal? This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare, but after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages? I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply follow her to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over. We leave the door open in case there's a need for a quick exit, especially after she mentions it's only by chance she has been able to open the door last time. We can't waste time finding the switch again on the occasion something goes horribly wrong. There's bound to be, with me feeling this high-strung and tense. I'm not even sure why I thought it'd be a good idea to enlist McCulloch help. Although she has been quite helpful so far, I can't shake off the horrible feeling something's going to happen to her if she stays with me. Even if I'm her safest bet, if she wants to get out of this place alive, is this telling me I have to make a decision?
You really believe that, don't you?
Did you say something?
McCulloch pauses mid-step, turning to me, confused.
I didn't.
You sure? I just heard.
Don't you think I'll be the first person who'll know? Look, the ladder leading to the kitchen's up ahead. You might want to hurry. I just want to be done with this place.
See? You dragged another one.
This time, I'm sure. There's really a voice, well, voices. Despite the look of protest McCulloch shoots me, I find myself stopping and looking for it, searching the immediate surrounding for the familiar form of the woman. I don't even have to venture too far from where I'm standing. Just an arm's length away from me, mirror shards litter the floor. And right on the biggest fragments... they speak. All singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo throughout the small undercroft. Murmurs and laughters, jeering, scoffing, deriding, lacing venom into every crevice in my head, taunting me.
You dragged another person into this, Ashton.
Into another one of your silly little problems.
All because you can't fix them on your own. You really haven't changed, have you? Some hero you are.
Useless.
Pathetic.
You're wrong.
My mistake lies in this first instance I've answered. Very second denial has slipped from my mouth. Their words have also seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at and rouse my temper. Despite knowing they are merely doing this to goad me, each word, each syllable trickle into me, spurring the guilt I hope I've long buried.
Are we? Or is that simply what you've been telling yourself all this time? Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps?
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened it.
How does it feel, I wonder, to know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
Why are you talking to mirror shards, Ashton?
Oh, but you can't. It's already too late, and you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends. Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Can't even bring Luke right to justice.
Can't even keep his own family together. No wonder they left you. Before you do the same thing to them.
Mom and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they had the sense.
Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. Some son you are. You might as well just throw that rank away. You're no use to people either way.
Shut it!
I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through to me. Every weakness, every insecurity it knows, to hear it said in my friend's voice. Even more so. But what I hate above it all is...
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
Shut it! Not a single word anymore!
In the end, Your own incompetence will eventually lead to the deaths of everyone you care about.
It laughs, sharp and piercing. At its sound, something in me snaps, a rage hastily unfurling, red filling my vision, and the next thing I know, I'm raising my hand to end. Something grabs at my wrist, followed by buzz as another voice breaks through the haze.
Don't listen to it!
Fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses. All at once, there is this deafening silence. Slowly, I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, the faint, old scent of death and decay somewhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist as if to keep me from hurting myself. In my hands, a shard. Blood drips from where it has cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep, negligible, even. There is a pain, however, a different kind. An ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but where every single word is hit. When I glance up at McCulloch, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it! No matter what happens, don't do what it says! It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after I nod and drop it entirely does she release my grip. Afterwards, she simply steps back and looks away. Hugging her arms closer to herself, she breathes a sigh, heavy. Perhaps weighted with her own guilt, what this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
Close to the end of the chapter, perhaps? She walks off without another comment, but there's worry in her as she gives the fragments one last glimpse. On the ground, they lie lifeless now. No more voices, no more insults. But even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
It's useless, Ashton Frey. You are going to die.
Ooh.
And you are going to die alone.
I mean, don't we all? A fear, one that has been long kept in the darkest place in my heart. One that a small part of me wishes for. The trap door swings open without much fuss. It hasn't even locked, probably left open for when Wright asks for some midnight snack. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself and help McCulloch up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, attending to his master, or doing some extra late-night work before turning in for the night, or attending to his husband. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants, no anyone. And just as easy as that, we're in. Gently, I close the hatch. If things go well, the same path will be our way out. If our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? I have people waiting for me. People who have to somehow end up in the mansion. I think. I don't know. I really don't want to think of what might happen. Sometimes it's best if we simply revel in the little victories. They're great blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly, a sob. Ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing through its empty halls, and sounding just like the one outside that brought him into that sex dungeon. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, McCulloch immediately tenses. Her eyes goes wide, and she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it, if only she has the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered. Makes sense of the 3 or 4 more days without proper food or water. And it's this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes. She's aware. If something happens, if there's a need to run, she won't be able to. She's a liability at this point.
Holmes, I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
She doesn't answer.
You'll only be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be, if no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
McCulloch still appears as if she's about to argue. So instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. A standard issue for every member of Luxborn police force, but it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet, Miss Interior Designer Extraordinaire stares at it as if I've just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you. But if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you!
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hanging in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm not going against something almost everyone can't quite... I am going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic with my chances, and McCulloch seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who that is seems a good place to start as any. I keep to the shadows for the most part. Not that there's any need to, the entire place just feels empty. Odd when a house this big should have a large staff. You'd think there'd be one or two roaming about for some late-night chores, or someone seeking out whoever's creating this ruckus. There's none, however.
Shouldn't they have security posted inside as well?
Unless their security means the butler, though I doubt scumbags that sloppy. He loves his life more than anything. Probably more than his own wife. And the things he's done, he's bound to make more than an enemy or two. He's also the kind who will do anything to keep himself safe. Alive.
I wonder what he'll say when he finds out that there's something not human living with him in his own house.
Potential dangers aside, being on my own grants me a greater degree of mobility, which I'm more comfortable with. Sure, I could have enlisted McCulloch's help. Next to the people who knows this, she's probably the one who's most familiar with the mansion. But the cons of bringing her outweighs the pros. She's better off somewhere a quick exit's in sight. With no tag-along, I only have to worry about myself. Watch my back. Selfish, I know.
But necessary.
In the same manner this whole plan is, no matter how idiotic going into this is. Besides, I don't really need a guide when the house's layout is fairly simple, almost mirrored with only a few modifications in the rooms. Is it gonna be 10 minutes of him talking in this room, thinking to himself? Although I've only been here once, I think I already have a good grasp of this place's ins and outs. As long as you can tell which is east and west, it shouldn't be hard to find my way around. After the dining room, the main foyer should be the next thing that greets me. Where the woman's cries are leading me. Honestly, after what happened outside, I'm not even sure if I should be trusting what I'm hearing. And he shouldn't. But with the whole house somehow seemingly devoid of any of its inhabitants, I'm inclined to look into this. More than surviving this curse, a huge part of this is my training speaking.
I just hope this isn't a crime scene I'm walking into.
It's going to look bad, if it is. But nothing's ever that simple, is it? Not when you're dealing with the supernatural. Nope. Because as soon as my feet crosses to the next room, something shifts. Oh, wow. They redecorated. Ah. In a flash, nearly without fanfare. It happens in the blink of an eye. I almost miss it. One moment, there's red. And the next. Oh, well. That's some fancy hallucination. I'm standing alone in the foyer. For a brief instant, I pause, glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if my movements will spur the vision back. Yet, nothing. No blood dripping on the walls, none trailing down the stairs or pooled on the floor, no eyes watching my every movement. Only the same cries gradually growing in intensity the longer I dally, along with a voice.
Mother,
Desperate.
where are you, Mother?
Pleading.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
Is that Hannah? Coming from the same direction I've heard the cries from. Upstairs. See, this is finally getting good. As long as he doesn't, like, stop in a room to, spend 5 minutes thinking. The place is not entirely empty then. A better question now is who? Definitely not Scumbag or the butler. I've yet to see hide nor hair of them, and not knowing their whereabouts puts me on the edge. I have to be careful not to make any noise or be seen. Maybe the wife? Though one can't really tell if it's her, the way the walls echo her voice. Nevertheless, it pushes me to move, taking almost 2 steps at a time, despite the sickening feeling that something's lurking behind every great shadow, around every corner I pass. As if the house has several eyes watching my every movement. As if something alive dwells behind the walls itself. ... Oh, it's back. It was a trap. Oh, I tried to shake it off. But the uneasy sensation has already made home at the pit of my stomach. Dread. And it only grows deep. Nope. It only grows deeper the closer I get to her. The relative emptiness of the place doesn't help either. Neither does the harsh wind battering the windows, nor the sheets of rain pelting down the roof. Although it looks more like they left the windows open, those mad people. For a fleeting second, I find myself wishing for Scumbag to simply show up. I don't get too far down into that train of thought. Abruptly, the cries stop, replacing it with...
Mother, please. She's here. She's here, Mother. She's going to take me.
Oh, hey, there's an open door. I wonder if that's that door.
She won't leave, Mother. Mother, I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. Mother! Mother, she's here! Help!
That can't be good. No shit. Adrenaline overcomes me in a rush. In no 2 heartbeats, my feet's already moving before any sense can catch up or doubt creeps up to me. My hands ready at the holster as I hastily set off for the far side of the hall. One alarmed footstep after another, while struggling to keep that sense of panic at bay. A door lies ajar at the end, and coming from the floor above.
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I do not hesitate. Moving in despite the lack of light, the steep stairs of the thick layer of dusting kicking up with my every step. I pause only a moment upon reaching the top. Then, without wasting a second, I push the door open. Oh, this is new. She sits in the middle of the room, shoulders hunched, shaking. Her hands cover her face as she weeps, oblivious to my presence. It's as if she has heard neither my footsteps nor the soft creaking of the door, continuing undisturbed like I'm standing in a time far removed from her. She doesn't even flinch when I call out to her.
Hey, are you alright?
see her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Belatedly, I notice the blood on her hands. If it's the same one drenching the whole attic, I'd rather not know. Oops, did it again. How the whole room has ended up like this is the least of my problems at the moment. Even a single human body doesn't have this much blood. So, bodies? The thought sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach. Does Wright even know about this? He's bad news, alright, but this is beneath him. He'll definitely balk at first sight of it. Anyone will. Yet the woman lingers here, unmoved by the sight, letting her sobs fill the room, repeating the words over and over again like a prayer of salvation. To whom? The mess of parchment she has left on the floor. Just what the hell is happening?
Hey, lady, are you?
The rest of that question never makes it out. I don't even see it coming. Should have been more aware and on guard, really. There's little I can do with a well-placed blow to the back of my knees makes me stumble. And now he's trapped in this room, huh? The momentum alone sends me reeling forward. It barely even registers in my head that the woman's gone and the room's as normal as it can be. Not above the pain suddenly shooting up my side when I hit the floor. I don't even get the chance to get my bearings back when a hard enough blow to the stomach causes me to buckle down and land heavily on my knees. Gasping, I fumble wildly for my gun. Although before I'm able to turn, level it and shoot, a hand grabs my wrists and twists it. Hard. Gasp. A grunt. A cry of pain slips past my mouth. The gun falls to the floor with a thunk. As soon as it lands, a foot kicks it out of my reach and it slides uselessly under the bed. Agony suddenly explodes in my chin, jerking loose a sharp cry of pain, and stars fill the edges of my vision. A brief moment of regret hits me for leaving my taser with McCulloch, when a piece of cloth closes around my neck. Uh-oh. Without warning, my attacker pulls tight. I'm left gasping, choking, and clawing for air, blindly reaching behind me as I still try to fight him off and loosen the pressure on my neck. Except any sort of movement only causes him to pull it taut.
My, so many rats scurrying about in this mansion lately.
Oh my god, the butler. Wright's butler is trying to strangle him. Shit.
Tell me, what did you do with the madam?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Did something happen to Hannah Wright?
Let go, you asshole.
Now, Dummkopf, you're in no position to be rude. Last time I checked, I'm not the one breaking into other people's homes. Now answer my question. What did you do with the madam?
The pain rings and resonates through my already sore body. Still, I manage to ride it out and spit a mutinous.
Fuck you.
Keep that dirty mouth babbling and you're getting a knife in the kidney. I assure you it will be more painful than this.
Well, that butler does not mess around. He really doesn't need to threaten me by now. It's all too much to bear. At this point, my lungs feel like they're burning with the lack of air. Dark spots begin to fill the edges of my vision. Ever so slowly, the world around me dims. My consciousness rapidly slips away from me, and without meaning to.
Get away from him!
Hearing that voice, it's as if I've been doused with a bucket full of ice. Cold water, familiar, too familiar. What is going on? And more importantly, it shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be hearing it here. She shouldn't be here. Immediately, my eyes snap open. Okay. And right there, right on the attic's doorway, stands Isabella of all people. A rolling pin on one hand and a standard issue police taser on the other. My taser. She must have borrowed it from McCulloch. Where else could she have gotten one? I doubt she has ever used one. Hell, the way she holds it right now, this guy could easily disarm her in one hit. There's something in her eyes. Although there's a look of fear in them, and her hand shakes, she keeps a weapon trained, pointed at Scumbag's lackey. Untrained or not, she does not plan to leave here without putting up a fight, it seems. Admirable, really, but it's just not something we need right now. I need her to be away from here. I need her safe. but the chances of that happening grow slim with every laughter that slips from him.
Oh, this is just getting better and better. The Bratwurst won't be pleased with the number of bodies we have to dispose of today, you know. Tell me, how many of you are there? So I can prepare the proper number of bags.
Damn it. What the F is going on? Why is she here in the first place? Did she follow after me? Who else came with her? Zach? Rebecca? Story update? Are they all here? Panic surges within me. She knows how bad the situation is, but did she really have to run in here and expose herself like that? Does she even know how to use a taser? For F's sake, more than worrying for my life, it's her I'm concerned about. Getting strangled, dying by choking isn't part of the plan, but her following me here isn't either. This is why I prefer to do things alone, and this is why you would have died. This is why I'd rather be the only one to take the consequences. I don't even want to think about what this bastard might do to her after he's done with her. Though my voice comes off nearly a croak, I try to tell her as much. She has to leave. Stay far away from here and these people.
Don't! Damn it, Isabella! Get out of here!
Another bout of pain erupts in my side, cutting off my words. A cry of agony bursts from my mouth. I can taste blood on my tongue as I heave, attempting to get in as much air despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
Ash?
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
Get out.
Don't be stupid! I'm not leaving you here!
I accidentally clicked. Could she just do something aside from just them having a chat while he's choking? Oh, he's being strangled. He laughs, too cruel, too unforgiving. I suddenly don't like this butler. The way each note beats against my ears, in spite of the warmth in them, sends chills down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been stained with blood before. He won't hesitate.
I'd follow his advice if I were you, little girl. What could you possibly do with a toy? Just hand it over and be on your way. It'll probably be too difficult for a little girl like you to use.
There's a moment of silence. I can barely keep my eyes open. But in the next second, though, I still don't exactly understand what's happening. Isabella shouts. Not a cry of pain. Not a yell of panic. But one that's resolute. Firm. Perhaps in a tone that's leagues fiercer than any I've heard from her before.
Try me. Ashton, duck!
I do. More out of instinct and desire to survive, closing my eyes before my mind can fully process what's going on. It all happens in a blur. The telltale sound of a taser being discharged resounds through the room. The air crackles. Something whizzes by almost too close to my ear, followed by the thud of something blunt connecting solidly with another object. Next thing I know, the towel strangling me has started to loosen. I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air. Oh, my voice. My voice is definitely feeling this. Almost 2 hours of reading this. Oh geez, I go to drink water and instead of like pouring into my mouth, I just poured it all over me. All over my chin. From my peripheral, through the haze of blood rushing and sound slowly filtering back, the butler buckles. He spasms once and then shits himself. Then, without much fuss, falls face first beside me, knocked unconscious by 50,000 volts of electricity and an effing rolling pin. So he pees himself. He'll be out for a while. I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. Somewhere in front of me, my oxygen-deprived brain vaguely registers Isabella's form. She slumps on the floor, also breathing heavily. Right next to her trembling hands, both the taser and the rolling pin lie useless and forgotten while the mood in the room eases. A long, gradual process of the tension lifting. For countless seconds, we remain quiet, with only our short gasps and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline ebb away, both our breathing to slow, and then 5 more minutes of exposition. Not a true repose by any means, but simply a brief one. One in which we contemplate what could have happened. We contemplate what kind of future we might have lost. And in that moment, Ashton realizes that maybe, just maybe, he doesn't need to always be alone. Maybe, just maybe, they can find some way to drag this out even longer. There's still the curse. We're still inside the mansion, in imminent danger. We still have no idea how to fix this. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes fleetingly somewhere, white and piercing, and the sky rumbles. No rest for the wicked. I stir first, once recovered, having regained some semblance of sense and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable. As is moving, although every small motion causes a wince. There will be bruising tomorrow, I can manage. Retrieving my gun from underneath the bed is easy, but only with some effort I am able to drag an unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one end of a handcuff onto his wrist while fastening the other on the bed frame. He should have cuffed behind him and then attached it to the bed frame. That should keep him restrained for a few hours in case he wakes up prematurely. All through this, Isabella stays quiet. In fact, she hasn't even moved once. Her hands still shake and taking in long draws of breath while she stares vacantly in front of her, almost as if she's in shock. Perhaps she isn't even expecting any results, spurred only by some kind of desperation. Now it's sinking in. Unfortunately, we need to get moving. We don't have time to wait for everything to register in our heads, especially the fact that the butler mentioned that there's a lot of bodies they need to dispose of. That is troubling. Kneeling in front of her, I give her a light shake.
Belle, we need to go. We can't stay here.
Slowly, she turns, staring at me with wide eyes. Worry flickers briefly in them, along with something ineffable. Then, without warning, she lifts a hand and slaps me across the face. The sound of it cracks the air, shattering the silence like a fragile glass breaking. Despite the familiar rumble of thunder outside, it manages to ring louder above the storm. I don't even know what hit me until my head has already snapped back and my cheek stings with her anger, and then he falls, hits his head, and dies. And it is anger. In spite of the stillness and the lack of words afterwards, not fuming though, never fuming, but the kind that burns lightly and soundlessly, but not too soundlessly and not too brightly. But it's still there. A frustration instead of a seething rage, a rage so seething. One that ebbs just as quickly as it flows, and one that, once the tide subsides, there's only that gleam in her eyes, warm, steadfast, and unflinching, just like the Isabella, the stubborn Isabella we all know, who as a child, something. Quietly, I brace myself for the truth underneath that gaze. It slips from her lips softly, nearly fading under the sound of the rain still falling fast, if not for the weight in each of her words.
What is wrong with you?
Belle.
If Zach didn't slip up, no one would have known where you went.
Belle, one person knowing is enough. Any more than that, and...
It's a coincidence.
You almost died. He could have suffocated you right then and there, and you could have died.
I told Zach to give me 4 hours. That would have been enough time to...
It would have been too late. And by the time anyone ever finds out, you're already fertilizer.
She trails off, drags one in breath. Oh, gods. She trails off, drags one indrawn breath after another. Indrawn? As opposed to outdrawn? A brief lull as her frustration finally gives, dissolves into something more pensive and somber. Her shoulders droop, and though her voice rises hoarse and weary, in her next words there's only certainty.
You count too, you know? When I said that night, when I told you that I don't want to lose anyone anymore, that includes you. Alive.
Well, you guys are in danger, imminent danger, but that's okay. You can spend the time chatting and talking and whatnot. That's all right. You can take this moment to talk, to have a heartfelt conversation, to confess your feelings instead of, I don't know, doing something else that moves the story along.
We're still here, Ash. You have us.
And once their meaning fall, roar, it does so not with force of a dam breaking or a raging storm. Yeah. But with the gentle, steady warmth of a earth burning, an ember easing slowly, lightly, rising and giving until all that's left is truth and understanding. Not alone. Never alone. Ashton, you don't have to be alone. You need a partner. It lingers, even as we both drift back into silence and her words take root, because in the gratitude that swells after, it's another warmth blooming from the nethers. Pleasant, welcoming, like finding home, like finding ourselves in the haze of a squall has left for creating something fragile yet immutable in both of us. It's in her eyes, in the way she holds my gaze unwavering, in the way she carries herself despite sitting amidst a place she fears. In the way she keeps herself from trembling and falling apart because fear is inconsequential when people she cares about are at risk. A change. She realizes that now, holds on to it. Another little thing, another small thing from her that may go unnoticed and pass by quietly, but will eventually amount to a lot of things. Tiny gestures that mean nothing at first, but begin to matter to me one day until... Oh. Despite myself, a small smile slips from my lips at the same warmth from earlier and furrows my chest. Unhurried, familiar, and bright from all these years I've carried it, but have never given the words for it.
Stop smiling like that, Ashton! I'm not done scolding you!
Are they really gonna have their moment here of all places? But this time they come easy.
I heard all of it. Don't worry.
Are you really okay? That guy hit you a little too hard on the head. Here, let me...
I reach up just as she extends a hand towards my face, catching her wrist in a light grip, drawing it closer, and folding her hand in between mine. Although her expression does shift into mild confusion, she does not pull away like I'm expecting. She simply stares at me, searching. For her to allow a gesture from me that's perhaps too close, it tells a lot. How far things have already shifted in the past few years. Cradled in mine, her hand still trembles. Most of the tremors has already subsided by now, though I doubt it'll fade away this soon. Even as I trace the lines of her palm, in what I hope is a comforting gesture in this moment of imminent danger.
I'm sorry, Belle.
For what? Is this about what happened tonight? You can apologize later, when...
No, well, this too, but it's not just about this.
It's for...
And he knocks her out and handcuffs her to the bed.
It's for a lot of things. For calling you clumsy and careless
Well, she just saved your life, so...
and a scatterbrain.
Are you sure this isn't a concussion?
Yeah, it's a concussion.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't usually apologize.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that too.
Can you talk quieter, please?
For all the times I've teased you and made you cry.
Unexpectedly, her fingers tighten around mine, our hands falling between us as something tender shifts in the air. Another exhale, another drawn breath eases out of me, filled with every hesitation and uncertainties, but when I finally choose to break silence, it's only when I know that what will slip past my mouth is that one truth I will hold against the world.
But for all those callous words, despite all those, there's nothing that I don't love about you. In fact, those things, I love those.
Because this is an appropriate time. When they tell their children and their grandchildren when they finally realized when they loved each other. Or told each other that they loved each other. It was in the attic of a mansion that they broke into because they were cursed. After Ashton was almost killed, strangled by a butler.
And everything. Everything that's you.
For a long moment, she offers no response. Her grip on my hands merely tightens as she tries to figure out a way to say that she only thinks of him as a friend and that she's actually into Zach. Although my heart's pounding hard against my ears, I take a chance and look up, slightly leaning away and giving her a cautious glance, more than ready to hear her rejection. And it is one, despite the smile on her face. If it can even be called one, of course. There's a pained aspect to it I can hardly name. Regardless of what it means for her or what she intends to convey with it, the sight of it alone makes me regret ever mentioning anything. It's almost as if she's forcing herself to push out the next words out of her mouth for the sake of not hurting me. Not that I won't be able to take it, but if these feelings will only put a heavier burden on her, I'd rather not have said anything at all. As expected, with one last squeeze at the hand cradling hers, she pulls her hand away from mine. When she speaks, though, there's a stark refusal to meet my eyes, as she admits that she is betrothed to someone back home. Not that I hold it against her. The situation's already awkward as it is, standing in a room with a knocked-out butler.
Ash...
She pauses, biting her lower lip. A small frown forms between her eyebrows, while she struggles to find the right phrases to string together.
Ashton, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's cool.
It's cool. I mean, I almost died. I have a concussion. That's all it is.
I was already expecting that. Kind of. But you don't have to...
No, I mean, I can't. I can't afford to think of anything other than helping my family. Especially now that Papa's gone.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
They're going to need me more than ever, Ash. I'm sorry. I really can't. Not right now.
Not in this mansion. Not in this room where she found the letter. Okay, Okay, we still haven't... I want to press on to see if his chapter will finally end. My voice can't take it. You know what? We're gonna push through. That's what we're gonna do. We're also gonna save it. I've always known it would lead to this. To some extent, her family will always come first. Who am I to take that from her? It hurts, of course, but the pain eases, knowing that in spite of circumstances, her heart will always be in the right place. That she is still the same woman I've fallen in love with.
It's all right, Belle. Don't apologize. If it still matters, that's actually what I love about you. Of course, not that I'm expecting anything by telling you that, but you get the point. Yeah.
Thanks, Ash. I mean, thank you for loving me. Even after everything.
Oh boy. Awkward. Her response is a smile and a soft laughter, perhaps the sweetest I've seen and heard from her. Just from it, I know nothing will change despite her answer and any lingering feelings that will come from this. And there will be. Lingering feelings, that is. With the way she barged into our lives 5 years ago, it'll probably be enough to leave a terrible impression on anyone, but that's also precisely it. It's people like her that you don't easily forget. It's them that gradually worms their way into a person's life until the very thought of losing them becomes unbearable. As it is, I'm already content simply staying by her. No grand expectations or hopes attached. Just the banter, the small smiles, and the quiet little moments that roar. I love her. That isn't all there is to us.
I know I caused you all kinds of trouble these past few years.
How so? Aside from this letter business, how so? They're alluding to some prior events, and I'm curious.
Hey, whoever told you I'm doing this for free?
I'm also very curious about why the light keeps expanding and contracting.
After we're done with this curse thing, you're gonna owe me a year's supply of ice cream.
Yeah, we'll see.
Another laughter, this time from both of us. Then she hits my arm with a light punch. Familiar, warm, bright, and hopeful, much like everything about her. And it is strength enough to keep me going as I lead us both out. Please tell me this is it. Are they leaving? Power still hasn't come back. When we make our way downstairs, tricky considering the stairs to the attic are a bit old. One misstep and anyone might end up slipping and falling. You're lucky if that's all that'll happen to you. With the stairs this steep, a broken neck is a likely outcome. Thankfully, Isabella is here to guide me through the darkness. She knows this place better than anyone, after all, in spite of all the misfortunes it has brought to us.
Careful, the floorboards over there aren't very sturdy.
Right on cue, the same boredom stepping on creaks and suddenly breaks, the pieces falling somewhere with a dull thunk.
Oh, shit. Scumbag wouldn't be too happy about that. Ow, my foot.
See? I told you so. You never listen to me.
They renovated the whole mansion and they can't even replace one tiny part of the house.
Why don't you file a complaint to BRC then? I'm sure they'd be thrilled to hear it. You know it was such a rushed job.
Outside, the winds have intensified. Even from here, I can hear the gusts battering the windows in the attic. It makes you wonder why, up until now, the only person we've encountered from this house is the butler. Although, to some degree, that makes sense. He is in charge of running the place. Where are the other servants, though? In this storm, wouldn't anyone want to stay inside? Likely assumption is that they're all asleep. The route I've taken doesn't really pass by the rooms they likely assigned as the servants' quarters. However, they have also heightened security. I brushed it off earlier, thinking they'll be posted a lot closer to where the master's rooms are, but the second floor is devoid of anyone as well. As if every inhabitant of this place has suddenly disappeared overnight. More importantly, where's that scumbag? And did the butler kill everyone and bury them? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The fact that we're here, right in the middle of it, makes me all the more more queasy. That feeling only escalates once we reach the landing and Isabella swings the door open. She pauses abruptly right in the doorway that I'd almost run into her. A look of confusion's in her as she looks wildly around the place, wordlessly taking in her surroundings. With each turn and shift of her eyes, her shoulder only grows tenser and a look of apprehension slowly dawns on her.
Isabella, what are you...
We aren't supposed to be here.
Sure enough, when I look up, we're standing right in the kitchen, pots, pans, and all. Uh-oh. 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 In one corner, Zach and Rebecca watches almost as surprised to see us, because they were making out at the pub, and then they're suddenly here. They're really confused. McCulloch's also with them. Of course, she didn't listen to me, even if I've already exceeded the 15 minutes we agreed on. Although color and strength seems to have already returned to her, even enough for her to be able to stand unassisted. The empty plate on the counter appears to have played a part of that. Good news, I guess. As for the other two, however, relieved as I am that they've had the sense to wait and not venture deeper into the mansion, I can't help but roll my eyes at both of them.
Zach, I said 4 hours.
I know, but Isabella asked and... Come on, bro, you know I ain't a very good liar.
And it didn't even occur to you to stop her?
You'd be dead, Ashton.
We all tried, all right? She was out the door before we could say anything.
And how did you guys even get in here?
All three of them exchange a look. One that I absolutely don't like. In the end, it's Isabella who speaks up, albeit with a bit of a hesitation.
We heard someone scream, Ash. It led us here.
Without warning, the door behind us slams shut.
We need to get out of here.
Screw right. I need to get these people out of here. Lucky, we're in the kitchen and we have two ways out. The back door and the cellar offers. Except the hatch won't budge when I pull at it, and neither does the back door, as if something has locked it firmly on the other side. Zach also gives it a few tries, but even with the big guy's strength, it won't open. There's a long bout of silence in which we all simply look at each other, likely sharing the same thoughts. It is time to go through the window. You have pots and pans, throw them. We're trapped. Something or someone has intentionally led us here. F it. In that same moment, once realization dawns in, something shifts again. Blood. In every nook and cranny, over every surface and every inch of the floor. This time, unlike the first one I've seen, it remains, and gradually the whole room begins to reek of that familiar metallic scent, sharp and suffocating. Around us, every every object, including the cupboards, have started to rattle as well. The sounds from outside, foreboding rumble of thunder, and even the howling winds have begun to fade away, replaced by whispers, shouts, and cries of pain. Though inaudible, each beat and note bombards every crevice of my head with vague images and sounds. There's no time to make sense of everything, however. I'm already shouting, fueled purely by adrenaline, barking orders and making a break for the door that leads to the next room, the dining room. It should take us straight to the foyer where the main door is.
Move! Run!
Right in front of us, the mansion has started to change and we're in the thick of it. However, instead of the dining room, like it's supposed to open to, the bedroom welcomes us instead? Shit. Is this, are we gonna reach the end of his chapter? Is this the last chapter? An image that lasts only but a second before blood begins to seep into the room. Oh, that's kind of nice looking, except for the blood. But the red is actually nice coloration, filtering into the walls, trickling from every nook and cranny. Everywhere, furniture shakes and every beam rattles. Before we can even step back from the horror gradually unfolding in front of us, the door slams shut. A loud thud bringing a sense of dread and chill creeping up in each of us. Along with it is another realization: the whole place is reordering itself. And with the door closed tight behind us, showing no signs of budging even through sheer force, but never mind the balcony, there's no choice but to go forward and hope to all gods that it'll lead us to an exit. Until then, running's the only thing we can do, spurred by nothing but fear and a sense of desperation to live.
It's useless, Ashton.
But with each room we pass, it only becomes apparent that the house has no intention of letting us leave. It lured all of us here, and we've fallen for it. Now it's playing a little game with us, a sordid form of amusement. For whom? Their laughters are the only thing we can hear. With every hall we cross and door we slide open, the hope of finding an exit merely dwindles. The gun at my hip is useless here. I am useless here. Some genius I am, some person to trust I am. Of all those, they mean nothing in the face of the unknown.
You finally figured it out. Huh, Ashton Frey. Just give it up. All of them will eventually die because of you.
Story update.
And you are going to die alone.
He will die, not ever having known love.
Shut your fucking mouth.
Oh jeez, Ashton, don't fall for it.
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
The more gruesome the place turns, the bleaker our chances simply get. Wails and screams fill our ears as we pass by, words from a time and people long gone, laced with nothing but pure agony, calling out, reaching out to us. The voice is almost too real, as if we're not the only ones trapped here, that there are others begging for release from this wretched place. Or maybe it's all just a show, a taste of what we will eventually be, souls forever held captive in a never-ending nightmare.
Mother, I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Is this what the curse is? What it means for all of us? Oh, they're already in hell. They're already spirits trapped. But the letter not a morbid cry for help, but an invitation. A beckoning for unsuspecting souls to be dragged into this place's horrors, to be put under centuries and centuries of torment and agony. Suddenly dying a painful death seems preferable, enticing than ending up here, living a tortured existence. Or perhaps it's all the same. Still, hope worms its way into me, not a usual thing for someone like me, because the dining hall is actually pretty calm compared to the rest of the house. But after going through countless doors and corridors, every little sign of hope I'm willing to cling to as long as it gets us out of here. We're back in the dining room again. How long we have been running, how long since we've left the kitchen. At some point, I've lost track of time. The windows barred tight and the sounds lifting in the air, nothing but shouts and shrieks. It's impossible to tell. Not that it matters when an end is in sight. Shelves and furnishings bar the door, each stained with blood and gore, that if the situation isn't as desperate as it is, I'll find a different way out. There's still a gap left at the topmost part for a person to go through as long as you use the shelves to climb.
It's next, all right.
From here I can spy the familiar walls of the foyer. Relief, only relief, washes over me. Although my legs have been strained taut by all that running, and every bone and muscle in my body ache, there's only an easing. A sense of tension relieving while energy back flows through me again. What? Again at the sight of an end. No sooner I'm leading us out of it. Zach helps McCulloch first, assisting her up and through the gap, before giving a hand to both Rebecca and Isabella. Okay, Cat, you can't be in the lab. The moment the ladies are in, I nod for him to go through.
Go ahead. I'll watch your back.
Surprisingly, he does that without any protests. Not that there's any need to. Sometime after entering the room, the whole place has calmed down. No walls, no wails, no whispers, just a silence too deafening. But I'm not letting my guard down until everyone's on the other side of this nightmare, safe. For all I know, this may just be a calm before another storm. Without further incident, however, Zach makes it to the other side and I'm following after him. However odd this hush is, I turn my back from it, climb up. It's a tight fit, but I manage to squeeze myself in. The unease remains, though. Maybe it's the adrenaline still coursing through me, or how easy everything has been after living through that nightmare, fleeting as it is. But for some reason, something's still nagging at me. Call it a detective's instinct or my training or whatnot, I have a feeling something's going to happen and catch us unprepared. Unconsciously, if we're dropping down on the better side of this dream, my hand shifts to the gun at my hip. Instinct has never failed me before. My feet haven't even landed firmly on the floor when...
Had I known there would be a party in my own home tonight, I would have opened a bloody bottle or two.
Cat?
People these days, in my own home. Can you believe it? I feel so left out.
A chill seeps into every vein in my body. All of a sudden, every ache, every pain returns to me tenfold, and my knees threaten to buckle at the sound of his voice. Though it appears friendly, I know it is anything but. One does not spend investigating a man like him for over a year and holding a grudge against him for more without knowing everything about him. His quirks, his habits, I'm familiar with all of them. And right now, Luke Wright is beyond pissed. Shifting my gaze upwards is nearly too painful, knowing the danger. Not to me, but to those who have been lured in here by the curse. The handgun catches my... The handgun catches my eyes first, next to that the smarmy smile on his face, while he holds McCulloch, Zach, Rebecca, and Isabella at gunpoint. It's sight enough to lodge a painful thorn up my throat. I've been too complacent, too focused on other things that I've completely set aside the fact that Scumbag will not be too pleased to see us here without knowing our reasons. But even with those, good intentions, curses, and ghostly apparitions aside, we're still trespassing in his home. The question is, if he's even aware that the whole of his household has somehow disappeared, and he might be... damn it. Might be the only one here. Likely not. F it. Even with people he knows among the crowd, there's a significant effort in him not to simply shoot everyone in sight.
And really, Daisy, even you, what would Kylie say?
Luke, this isn't what you're thinking. You have to listen to us. There's something going on here.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What about little Lily over there, then? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is? Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Sir, please.
Oh, please, what?
Becca's right, sir. We need to get out of this place. You need to leave.
Tut, not a good enough excuse, darling. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight. Don't worry, I might consider pressing lighter charges for the woman. Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
Casually, he waves a handgun at them as if it's just a mere toy and his words are no threat. The safety's off on his, nothing's stopping him from pushing through with his words. Call me paranoid, but at the slight gesture I draw my own, I level at him, finger on the trigger and ready to release the safety catch in case things go south. He is quick to train his own on me, though, and just like that, we're at a standstill.
Now, Feathers. Manners. You're in no position to be pointing that gun at people.
Why don't you put yours down first, and then we'll talk about manners.
Oh, he talks back. The gall! You know, your kind pisses me off so much.
Shooting him right now will be so worth it with the way he stares at me like I'm a damn pest, but this isn't what I've come here for. Not a murderer, as much as I loathe him. I'm not the kind who will kill people in cold blood for my own gain or amusement. The law will bring him what he deserves one of these days. At the moment, however, we're all in the same boat with this curse, and he needs to understand that. The longer we stand here, the more time we're wasting and losing, something we don't have much of. But how can I convince him? The scum is so full of himself, prefers to hear the sound of his own voice more than those of the people around him, no matter how much sense they make. Probably only way I can make him listen is if I beg. No way in hell that's happening. Maybe I should eliminate the immediate danger first and disarm him. Oh, he already said how to do it. Save. I don't know why I'm saving again. Beg him to listen. My life's not the only one at risk here, however. There's Zach. Story updates. There's Rebecca. There's Isabella. McCulloch is here as well. We're all unknowing victims to this curse. I'm in no position to pick who to save and who I should simply let die. I suppose my pride can take a few hits and I can set aside my beef with this asshole. Taking a deep breath, I lower my pistol. Though still on the edge and at ready in case he does something, I do my best to assume a less aggressive stance.
Listen, right. I need you to...
You broke into my house, and somehow, you expect me to listen like a good little boy. Are you a bit touched in the head, Feathers? I'm not the one breaking laws here.
Look here, fucker. If I wanted you dead, I could have done it so many times already. In fact, I can easily shoot you down right here, right now. And you won't be able to do a damn thing, even with that gun.
Suddenly he laughs, almost howling in fact, like I've just told him the best joke he's heard all his life. The only thing missing is for him to keel over and start rolling around on the floor. All while I do my best not to sock him with the sorry end of my pistol.
You have guts, Feathers. You have guts. Did you hear what you just told me? You've just threatened me inside my own house. My own home. You know what I'm thinking right now? In another lifetime, we would have probably gotten along well.
He's right on that, at least. I might have ended up like him if I didn't have Professor Andrew, Rebecca, Zach, and Isabella. One mistake and it would have been too late for me. With his laughter rings all of those possibilities I could have lived, I've never been given the choice. All because I have other people with me, people who care. A sobering realization. Not so much when suddenly his chuckling stops into a heart beats, marches towards me, grabs my collar, and aims his gun right at my head.
Ashton! Luke, no!
Hey, now you two, I'm sure we can all talk about this first.
At this distance, a slight flick of that finger on the trigger will be able to do more than kill me.
What is it that you people really want with me? This is the second time this week, and I'm really getting weary of this little game. Did the NCA send you to apprehend me, or has somebody paid you off to kill me? Which one is it, Feathers? Mind you, my arm's getting tired. Better answer quick if you don't want to beat the business end of this gun.
I keep my eyes trained on him in spite of the huge threat he poses right now, because if there's anything people like him, like us, prefer, it's honesty. You don't give that impression without keeping a solid eye contact.
I'm not with NCA. I'm just here to help. There's something else in this house, and we're all in danger. You have to believe me, right? You need to let us go. You need to get out of here before it's too late. If you want to keep your sorry ass alive, you'll listen to people with more brain cells than you.
Why, you insolent!
His finger moves, but I am prepared, my hand ready to reach up, disarm him, and knock him out. I have to drag him out of this place unconscious to keep him from suffering the fates of every other person who has died from this curse, so be it. However, before either of us can fire a shot or tackle the other to the ground, another voice echoes throughout the foyer. A small little thing compared to the storm raging outside. It rings above it, nevertheless, causing all of us to stop and turn. At the top of the stairs, Hannah Wright stands. To make matters worse, that thing's behind her, menacing, a rotting hand wrapped firmly around her neck. She looks like death. Pale and shaky, eyes red with tears, we nearly don't hear her as she pleads.
Luke, help me. Please.
Outside, another streak of lightning flashes and a clap of thunder ripples across the sky. As if this whole thing can't get any more foobar than it already is. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Luke! Luke's chapter! Finally! Oh my god. 6 more hours. 6 more hours to go. Alright. Oh. Let's just save it. Alright. Next time we shall start Luke's chapter. Finally. Oh my god.